John, thank you so much for joining us here at MURTEC. Really looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Abby, for including us. We're happy to be here.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in, right? We don't have a ton of time, and we're going to cover a lot.
Okay.
I want to start with just tell us a little bit. I want to get your perspective on the overall industry, right? The trajectory of how things are going economically. How was 2023?
So 2023 was a better than expected year, given how our guest at Applebees, IHOP, and Fuzzy's was pretty challenged in terms of the way they were managing their wallet. The household income, average household income for Applebees, IHOP, Fuzzy's is between $50,000 and $75,000 a year. So that's a guest that's watching their wallet. And what we saw in 2023 is that they were very motivated by promotions and deals and giving them a good, exciting reason to come into the restaurant. And when they were in our restaurants, they also found, to a greater extent than they had the prior year, the LTOs and the everyday value portions of our menu.
Yeah, so how's 24? What is your projection as we look ahead?
Looks like 23. So we continue to see a value-focused guest. We anticipate the same sort of behavior, and that's how we've planned our marketing calendar. And so some of you may have seen that Applebee's did its Dollarita promotion last October, right, which is a margarita for $1. And so that drove a lot of traffic, as you would expect.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it is 94% of the people, or the tickets that had a Dollarita on it, also had another item, which was typically food. So it drove a lot of traffic, and it also drove incremental business for our franchisees, which was important. And so our marketing approach this year is also about having really good, fun, compelling, value-oriented reasons to come into the restaurant.
Yeah. So LTOs are going to continue to play an important role. I wanted to get your take a little bit on overall innovations in restaurant business model. Tell me what the new mix looks like for dine-in versus off-prem versus virtual.
So we've been talking about this now for a couple of years, which is the business of running a restaurant today from an operations perspective is in many ways more complex, very different, more complicated than it was in 2017, 18, and 19. So as a couple of examples, pre-COVID, Applebee's and IHOP each had about 7, 8, 6% of their business was off-prem. Now it's 21, 22, 23%. And to give you context for Applebee's, in 2023, for the first time, Applebee's in-restaurant dining finally equaled 2019. And in addition to that, they had the extra $12,000 a week in off-prem business. So that's how the business has changed. We think that the consumer mindset has changed, right? So 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the first question you ask yourself is, what do I want to eat tonight? Hamburger, pizza, and then how should I get it? We think the question now is, how am I going to get my food tonight is the first question. Am I going to make it myself? Am I going to pick it up? Am I going to order it? And then the second question is then, what am I going to eat? And so restaurants and our brands and many of your brands have had to focus much more on marketing on the digital channels, the third parties, re-engineering the back of house to support a 20% off-prem business that we didn't have before. So it's become a much more complicated multi-channel business than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah. I'd love to get your take on, I know you've started co-branding locations. You've started doing that internationally with IHOP and Applebee's. How has that pilot been going?
So we think it's a big idea. Abby's alluding to the fact that outside the US, we have now 8 or 9 dual-branded restaurants that are both Applebee's and IHOP. So it's one box, which is the same size as a typical Applebee's or IHOP. 2 front doors, so if you're looking from the street or from the mall, you see what you think looks like 2 restaurants. You walk in, and the front of house is one side's Applebee's, one side is IHOP, but there's not a solid wall between the two. It's a very flowing space, so that on weekend mornings, if IHOP needs to overflow into the Applebee's space, or vice versa for Applebee's in the evening, we can do that. We're experimenting with the best way for an Applebee's customer to order pancakes if they want to do that, if that's one of the people at the table. And then the most important thing is it's a common back of house. So it's a much more economic box in the sense that if you think about Applebee's and IHOP, one's primarily an AM brand, one's primarily a PM brand, and when you put 2 of them in one restaurant, you get 4 day parts. And what we're seeing in these test restaurants is that, as you'd expect, we're about doubling revenue from what they were before, because often we're converting a single brand restaurant to a double branded restaurant. We just opened our most recent one outside Mexico City a few weeks ago, and we continue to pilot and refine and test with the goal of bringing it here to the US.
You do anticipate bringing that here?
That is the goal.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yes.
So shared kitchen space.
Yes.
What's then your take when we think about virtual and ghost kitchens? How does that model, is there an opportunity there with Dine? How does that model play out in your mind?
So we've learned a lot about both ghost and virtual over the last couple of months. This is an audience where I don't think we need to define the distinct.
They totally live and breathe it. Yeah.
Between ghost or kitchen. So what we've found is during the pandemic, it was let's do as much of that as we can, because we were all scurrying anxiously to figure out how to make sure our restaurants survived. So I think that ghost kitchens and virtual brands were sort of a little bit out of desperation then. Whereas what we've learned now is if you have the right business purpose, there can be a good fit for them. So for example, we used ghost kitchens outside the US to seed a new market. So we just started in Hong Kong, for example. So rather than build bricks and mortar stores for either brand, in this case in Hong Kong, we can test the market, we can build brand awareness, we can understand exactly where the restaurant should be. That's a great use of ghost kitchens, right? Low cost way to start to seed your brand in a new market. Virtual brands for us are exclusively at IHOP because we can match IHOP's business need to what a virtual brand can deliver. So you all know IHOP well. It probably doesn't surprise you, right, that 2/3 of our business is before dinner, and particularly on weekends. And so most IHOPs have 2 flat tops, and essentially 2 complete kitchens back of house. And in the evenings and late night, they only fire up one side. So we've been now partnering with virtual brands. We've got Pardon My Cheesesteak, we've got Major League Baseball, we've got NASCAR, that are brands targeted toward guests who tend to order food, guests who tend to order food at night. The menu is at night. And so it serves a purpose for our franchisees, which is it's driving that nighttime business, which gives them the extra business they need to stay open profitably in addition to their IHOP business at night.
Yeah.
So I like virtual brands when it serves a purpose. I like ghost kitchens when it serves a purpose, and in those 2 cases they do.
Yeah, and you've had another exciting update to the portfolio when you added Fuzzy's Taco Shop.
Super exciting.
Super exciting, congratulations. How has that integration gone? Bringing that brand into the overall family.
I will quote the Paul, who is the president of Fuzzy's, and one of his concerns, as you can imagine, was small company getting gobbled up by big company and life as he knows it ending. And he has said in his 35-year career, the most smooth, easiest, successful integration ever, which is wonderful. Took a year, right? Because you had to do payroll and technology and point of sale and all of HR and all of that. We learned some lessons and we had some principles. One principle was we didn't want to in any way disturb their business, right? So we had a sort of a ombudsman who, if anyone on the Fuzzy side said, it's too much, you're asking too much of us, we can't get our work done, then we would slow it down. And so we did it over the course of a year, but also did it in a way that we think didn't distract either our existing people or their people as well.
Okay, that's great. I want to dig in on technology a little bit.
It is a tech conference.
It is a tech conference. So since 2019, Dine Brand has tripled its spend on technology.
Yes.
I know that IHOP just recently completed a system-wide point-of-sale rollout. That was a pretty massive endeavor. Would love to hear how that has gone. Tell us a little bit about what technology you selected and what went into that selection process for you.
Sure. So to give a little context to your first comment was this is my beginning of my 4th year heading up Dine, and when I arrived, I was surprised by the limited technology budget that we had relative to the technology deficit that I thought we had in terms of apps and .com that had not been upgraded in several years, technology to support the loyalty program and one-to-one marketing and collecting guest feedback. So we did triple our spending over the last 3 years and have largely caught up in that regard. One of our big projects was the IHOP POS. So IHOP was on a legacy system that was everything you know about a legacy system, right? It was monolithic, it wasn't scalable, it wasn't in the cloud, all of those issues. So we selected Tray, which is proudly here in the trade show today, and as of today, we are just about at 96, 97% rollout. So we're in 1,600 plus restaurants. We spread the rollout over 24 months. We are Tray's largest customer, right? And so we chose Tray in part because of our ability to influence its product development timeline. We also chose it because it's cloud-based, it's scalable, it's got an open architecture to integrate with our other systems. And what we learned is we learned a lot about partnership and collaboration, the importance of award-winning project management in order to get this done, and we couldn't be more pleased.
Yeah, well, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a huge endeavor.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is, along with the POS, we're implementing handhelds for our servers at IHOP. And so that also is now in many of our restaurants. And in just the last couple of months, we're seeing what we hoped to see, right? So we're seeing servers turn tables faster. We're seeing average check grow. We're seeing tips grow. And that was the business case for the investments in the servers. And again, really well integrated with Tray because of its architecture.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you also at IHOP are just coming up on, I think it's the 2-year anniversary of the loyalty program, IHOP's first ever loyalty program, the International Bank of Pancakes,
yes.
Right? It's a great name, great creative format, great marketing. Tell us a little bit about how this program works, and if you can share a little bit about the technology partners that you chose there as well.
Sure. So the technology partner is Punch, who has been a great partner for us in helping us manage all of the loyalty data, the pan coins that you earn and you deposit in the stack market for the International Bank of Pan. Come on, that's clever. A little bit of a
you're literally turning pancakes into points.
Yes,
it's fun.
It's our crypto pancake, and so the premise behind any loyalty program, right, is if you have loyal customers, they will come more often and spend more. And if you can prove that out, you keep going, and if you can't prove that out, you don't. And so we are now at, we started with 0 members in our loyalty program 2 years ago. We now have 6.5 million members. Our goal is to pass 10 in 2024. And what we're seeing is exactly what we hope to see, is the loyal members come at twice the rate of non-loyalty members, and they spend more money when they're with us. And so the next step for us is to work with Punch to get much better now that we're collecting this customer data, and we can see our guests' past history, we can see what it is they've purchased, we can infer if they have a family or not like that when they come, to do much more one-to-one personalized marketing than we've done in the past.
Yeah, it's great. It's so creative. It's a lot of fun just reading about all the details of how that was marketed and put together. Really shows you how important the marketing and the packaging is to a loyalty program, to gamify it and make it fun for the guests.
The technology is super important, making it clever like the International Bank of Pancakes, and making it accessible. So for only $15 of spend, you earn enough pan coins to get your first free stack of pancakes when you redeem the points.
Yeah, it's really not just about the product and the reward. It's about creating something that guests felt fun and wanted to engage with.
Yes.
Yeah, congratulations. It's really cool.
Thank you.
I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about Applebees, right?
Okay.
I know that Applebees has rolled out a new website and new mobile app.
Yes.
Tell us about the functionality wins that you're experiencing now that you have this new website and new mobile app.
So that was all about, as was the IHOP revamp from last year as well, all about making it easier for our guests to interact with us however, whenever, wherever they want to. Because like we talked about when we first started, if they want to order from home and pick it up, if they want to order from home and have it delivered via Applebees.com, if they want to order via DoorDash and have it delivered, if they want to order in advance and eat it in the restaurant. So making our app so functional and easy to use that they can order any way they want and access the food any way they want. So we've made it much easier to do that. On the IHOP side, I'll mention when we redid the app, it turns out that no two people order no one orders an omelet or a pancake off the IHOP menu as is, right? So you get the omelet, hold the cheese, add tomatoes. You get the pancakes, add extra strawberries with the whipped cream. So we had to do a lot of work on our app to make the ordering of hold this, add this much more flexible as well. Always from the experience of and the point of view of the guest.
Yeah.
And that was really what we did. And so for Applebee's also, we're seeing the same thing. Better conversion, more ordering on Applebees.com, which we prefer, better satisfaction levels. And it's all about the customer.
Yeah, that's great. So while we're talking about Applebee's and the website, I want to talk a little bit about the day that Applebee's broke the internet.
Almost broke the internet.
Almost broke the internet. The date night pass, right? So tell us, first of all, what was the date night pass? What was the offer?
So the date night pass was, again, sort of where we started about, we anticipated how important it was to give guests a reason to come and a reason to be excited. Because what we see in our data is that our target guest the good news is our target guest is still dining out at restaurants. And when they do dine out, they're choosing more often than in the past, full service versus QSR by a little bit. And at the same time, they're also visiting us less frequently. So if they were dining out 4 times a quarter, now maybe it's 3 times a quarter. So we know that it's a battle for market share in the full service dining space. And what are the exciting reasons we can get people to come? Our promotions and our campaigns should always be, and all of yours as well, should always be grounded in insight, right? Some sort of consumer insight. And one of ours is just the notion of date night, right, in America. And a mom and a dad with young kids who make a point of going out to dinner once a week or once a month, and how important that is. We also saw research that the cost of going out to dinner for a couple was up 40% in the last 5 years. So we thought about how do we make date night, right, a really attractive thing at Applebee's. And so we offered a date night pass for $200, and that date night pass unlocked $30 credit every week for 52 weeks for the year. So you could literally go on a date once a week for $30 credit, which was if I'm doing the math right, $1,565 benefit for $200.
Yeah, that's huge.
So we made the date night pass available at midnight last year, and all the passes were gone in less than a minute. And in anticipation of that, we increased our server capacity. We increased our staffing at our customer support center, and the internet didn't break. Our sites might have slowed a bit, but they were still responsive and never stopped working. But there were guests who felt like when they saw their little things spinning that they were somehow being disadvantaged. And within 3 days of that event, we had the most impressions, from a PR perspective that we've ever had. We also may have had some more complaints than we've ever had for the sore losers out there, which is why we did it again. So for Valentine's Day,
doubling down.
For Valentine's Day, we made another 1,000 date night passes available, the same $200 deal. The one difference we learned was instead of first come, first serve, everybody has a day to register, and then we pick at random so that everyone had an equal chance, and you didn't have to wake up at midnight in order to win.
That's great. That's great. I love that story, and what a valuable lesson to learn.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing it.
Increased server capacity.
So Dine Brands was just named a 2024 Best Places to Work in IT, ranking number 11 among small organizations.
How cool is that?
Super cool. It's really cool. Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. I'd love to hear, to what do you attribute that win?
A couple of things. So when I got to Dine 3 years ago, the CIO reported to the CFO and was not part of the weekly leadership team meeting with the CEO. So one of the first changes I made was having Justin, our CIO, report directly to me and come to the weekly leadership team meetings. Because I don't understand how technology can be a strategic business partner if they don't have a seat at the table. Yeah. So I think right away that sent the message to the tech team that they were part of the strategy and that we weren't going to win without them. I think the second thing we did is we really worked hard to take down barriers between the brand teams and the technology teams, because in my past, I've been in organizations where the tech team announces we delivered the new project, and the brand team or the business unit says, yeah, but it sucked and it was over cost and it doesn't work. And so we now have literally monthly speak now or forever have your peace meetings with the entire leadership team across all 3 brands, the technology teams, where when the tech team says we've delivered the new IHOP.com, I go right to IHOP president and CMO and said, have you received this to your satisfaction? And that accountability on the business unit part to know that they have to be prepared to say yes, has really got them involved in a much more partnering, collaborative, coordinating way. But ultimately, it's about the people. We have, I think, a great technology team that knows that they are a key part of our strategy and that they are truly a business partner to our brand teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to hear your take. We have just a moment left. As technology is evolving so quickly, when you think about the next generation of technology leadership, what do you see as the important qualities that you want to be looking for as you're bringing technology into the organization, technology talent into the organization?
So it's almost a little bit counterintuitive, and I think this is true for senior leaders in many functions, not just technology, but being in the top jobs, whether it's CIO or the direct reports of the CIO, your technical skills become less important because those who report to you and work for you should have the most fresh, most current technical skills. And it's the same leadership skills that make a CIO successful that make me successful, right? Or any of you as business owners. It's in terms of listening, problem solving, prioritizing, delegating, being able to set strategy and direction. So, what I look for in a CIO or any senior leader is sort of the classic leadership skills, and I verify that yes, they've learned technology along the way, but that's not the most important thing when you're at the top of the organization.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and I love that as a closing thought. John, I'm so grateful for this talk. This has been a ton of fun. I know we could have spent a ton more time up here.
Thank you.
But I want to thank you so much for your time.
I enjoyed it too. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.